Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.
I say to you tonight, let us not forget.
Hey, good afternoon, advocates. Apologize for the delay. What do we say, Joe? Technical difficulties.
As usual.
It wouldn't be the show without it. Hey, everybody. They call me Dogfather, and over here, this is Joe Frazier, Love and Pit Rescue. Let me say first, guys, Joe, we've done a couple of shows that I guess you would say a little controversial. Don't do too many of them. I don't have to throw this out often, but the views expressed by the guests today are not necessarily those of the Pitbull advocates or sponsors. And with that said, we've all got personal opinions, and we're talking about the case with Steffen Baldwin here. A lot of people are familiar with that. A lot of people don't have a lot of information on that. But we've all got our opinions on that, and that's exactly what we're going to hear today, too. We're going to hear facts of the case, and we're also going to be, it's a lot of, it's a pretty sensitive topic, guys, and we never censored anybody on this show for any reason. Never told anybody, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. This is a place for advocates to, this is what we're about. We're not going to tell anybody what to say or what not to say. And I expect, that there might be some things that come up that we hear that kind of, we might get a little triggered. So it is what it is. We've been talking with Sharon, Logan for quite a while. We've been talking with Julie a little bit too. Sharon has pretty much most of the documentation and the court stuff. So we're going to be hearing a lot about the charges that have been brought up against me, and mainly let's focus on this case. And also, Joe, I want to know, we're going to be talking, being that it involves a very high profile rescue. And so an individual, Steffen Baldwin, is a very high profile kind of person in the world of rescue and advocacy. And I also want to know, Joe, we'll get into it, and I want to know how you feel how this affects your, excuse me, how this affects your work and how you feel about how this affects you, running a rescue. Are people going to be, a little less willing to make a donation to a rescue, and that sort of thing. And, the one thing I think it's going to, a lot of people is that you really got to pay attention to who you're dealing with and who you're sending your dogs to, because there's a lot of trust involved.
Yeah,
you're entrusting, the life of a dog, or in this case, multiple dogs. And they trust in you to make sure that dog's taken care of, and it gets what he needs or she needs, and the dog is rehabilitated and hopefully adopted into a good home. So do you think that there's any adverse effect on what's going on there with you? Just real quick, I want to get Sharon and Julian here real quick. But
well, obviously there's always adverse effects. I mean, it's just like when we started out in rescue, it was, well, if you're 501c3, then you're trusted and we can donate to you. Well, and the amount of time that we started getting big enough to have enough funds to go 501c3, there were several major rescues that got in trouble for misuse of funds of 501c3, and so all that trust kind of went out the window. And this is kind of the same thing. It's like there's another rescue that's close by here. They did all their due diligence work, did everything they were supposed to do for an adoption, put the dog out, and come to find out when they couldn't find out what was going on with their dog, that 2 days after they adopted the dog, they killed the dog and cut it up in pieces. And, there's always that kind of risk out here, and that's why it's so important that we do background checks and we do, reference checks and all the steps we do to ensure that a dog's life is safe, but none of us are bulletproof. And, all that affects us and how people look at rescues and the adversity of the industry in general.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to get this one going here. We're going to talk more about that, Joe. Advocates, please welcome to the show Sharon, Logan, Julie McCarty. Thank you both for being here, joining us with the show. Sharon, we've been talking quite a while about this, trying to get you on, and I'm really glad we finally got around to getting you here. So yeah, again, thanks for being here.
Hey, before we move on, I wanted to respond to Joe's story a little bit. Can I say something right quick?
Yes.
A few years back, I will tell you that, there's some Facebook pages created, and they were all anti-pit bull. And so, the masses, of course, everybody reacted, we got one shut down, but they made another one. One thing I want to say about that pit bull, that was killed recently, is that there are people out there that are hell-bent on, killing every pit bull that they come into contact with. And so some of these people disguised as adopters or, anything like that, or get them out of the shelter, who are anti-pit bull and kill them. So, that is out there. I just wanted to say that it's out there.
And the rescue that is attached to this is proceeding legal, so it'll be on record. So it will come up as a background check, so they can't do that again. And I hope 100% that they succeed.
Yeah, of course. They flood the state or whatever, but I'm just saying, I kind of moved away from that arena because it was just there's too much drama, and then those people were feeding off of the anger of everyone else and thought it was funny. So I just kind of moved on because it really was, non-productive to.
Yeah, we didn't get wrapped up in the anti-pit bull pages either, because that's what it was. They wanted us to react.
Exactly. So, anyway, I just wanted to comment on that. So
Sharon, I want to find first where you and Julia both have had you both met Steffen, yeah.
I met Steffen briefly at OC Animal Care when Best Friends was there giving $100,000 bribe to OC Animal Care for making their shelter director one of Best Friend's puppets. So I don't have a lot of experience with Steffen, but I know Saskia Basoy, and I'll just give you a little background on how I know Saskia Basoy. So after Logan versus...
Tell us Saskia, who her affiliation with Steffen.
She's she is the founder of Underdog Alliance, and then she brought him out from Ohio, from where he was in Ohio, to Acton, so they could continue doing his life-saving, amazing life-saving work, and so she could duplicate the life-saving work that he was doing out in Ohio in Acton. And she purposely put him out in Acton per our phone conversations because Acton was rural enough that they could fly under LA County Animal Control's radar.
Well, it might be sort of rural, but I've been there multiple times, and he was surrounded by houses everywhere.
Yeah. But so how I met Saskia was in 2015 after Logan versus OC Animal Care settled. I think it was within a few weeks. I got a call from this lady, and she's all, my name's Saskia Basoy, and I live in San Diego, and I'm a doctor, I'm an animal advocate, and I've been reading about what you've been doing with OC Animal Care, and I want to help you. I want to help you bring shelter reform to OC Animal Care, and I want to help you get Jennifer Hawkins out as the shelter director, and I want to turn, I want to make OC Animal Care a premier no-kill shelter. And at that time, it was 2015, and I was all like, oh, okay, that sounds good. And, OC Animal Care was killing 700, 900 animals a month. And I'm like, yeah, no kill sounds good, so no problem. So she's all like, well, I want to meet. I can meet you in a few days. And I'm like, okay, well, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you. And she was like really pushy, really demanding that we meet soon within a few days. And then I was all like, okay. So a couple of days later, we met at BJ's across the street from the old animal shelter that was in Orange. And, she was all like, yeah, I want to help you. And she brought a couple of other people from San Diego with her. And she's all, can I get your attorney's phone number? And I would like to talk to your attorney. So I gave her my attorney's phone number. And then my attorney called me and he said, yeah, I got a call from a doctor named Saskia Basoy, and she wants to help us. And is it okay if I can talk to her? And I'm like, yeah, you can talk to her, no problem. You can talk to her about the case, whatever. So it just progressed from there. And then my attorney put a group together after my lawsuit settled to try to bring shelter reform to OC Animal Care. And we had a group that met and we talked every month, and we were given the euthanasia reports from OC Animal Care, and we analyzed them, and we as a group were discussing options and alternatives. So that's how I met Saskia. But then I noticed she's one of those extreme militant extremists. No kill is the only way. There's no other way to go. And so I started questioning her, and I started questioning, she would tell me, you need to read this book by Nathan Winograd, or, you need to watch this film. You need to start going to Best Friends conferences, Austin Pets Alive conferences. And I'm like, no, I'm not interested in doing any of that. And I don't want to do any of that. So we started clashing I would just tell her, you're aligning yourself with really bad rescues. Oh yeah. And then after we met, I think a month later, she texted me and she's all like, I need you to pull 4 pit bulls out of OC Animal Care for me. You're in the news again. OC Animal Care's in the news. We went to the board of Orange County Supervisors meetings. We got to strike while the iron's hot. I want you to pull these 4 pit bulls out for me. And then she's all, we're going to do it to make a point that, these large breed behavioral dogs can be taken out and rehabilitated. And I'm like, okay, so where are these?
Crazy.
I was all like, where are these dogs going? She's all, I'm going to put them in boarding. Never mind where they're going. You just pull them out for me. I'll take care of the rest. I'm going to put them in boarding. I'm like, no. I was all like, no, I'm not doing that. And she's all, listen, everybody's, yeah, she was all like, listen, everybody's paying attention and to OC Animal Care right now and looking at them, and we have to strike while the iron's hot. This is our chance to strike. This is our chance to show them, that these dogs can be pulled out and redeemed. And I was all like, no, I'm not pulling out 4 pit bulls for you, handing them over to you so you can put them in boarding without a plan, because in the end, if something goes wrong, it's my name and my rescue that's on the line. So then she aligned herself with this rescue in Fontana called BFF, Best Friends Rescue, or something like that. And they started pulling out a large number of pit bulls and putting it at this lady's house in Fontana. It was not an ideal situation. And, I gave
ding, first red flag. Ding,
he
ding,
has
ding.
the screenshot. I mean, just Google Best Friends Pet Rescue and Google their reviews. They're horrible. And by the way, they're currently suspended from the California Attorney General's office as of right now. And so legally, they should not even be accepting donations or operating as a charity, but they still are. I actually received a text from someone last week asking me what I knew about Best Friends Pet Rescue, because they were trying to take a pit bull off a thread. And I'm like, do not send this dog to Best Friends. They're currently suspended. They shouldn't even be operating. Their dogs are kept in less than ideal conditions, and so that's how I met Saskia. So we started clashing, on what way OC Animal Care should go or how to move forward. And then in 2018, we basically parted ways because when the new shelter director came in, Mike Caviani, who is from Austin Pets Alive, and by the way, he knew Steffen Baldwin at Austin Pets Alive. I attended a protest the first week Caviani was at OC Animal Care, and that weekend he was going to introduce himself to the public as the new director there. And I was attending a protest outside of OC Animal Care, and so she had an epic meltdown about that. And then after that, we parted ways.
Where does when Steffen come in? I mean, have you met him once or with your because I know Julie mentioned it. She had met Steffen
several times.
You
blowing in the wind.
Your first introduction to Steffen, Sharon, where was that? And who was it through? And just I want kind of your general impression.
It was at OC Animal Care. Best Friends was giving $100,000 bribe to OC Animal Care. He was there. They were Saskia was trying to get Steffen on at OC Animal Care as the official trainer for OC Animal Care. Thank God they didn't have it. So did a few other shelters. So I only met OC Animal Care. And he was dodgy and shifty, and I know who he was, and he knew who I was, and he would not come around me. You know, he did everything he could to avoid me. So I could just tell right away that he was not who he claimed he was, and that he how do I put it? He was just what's the word? Slimy. Slimy. I don't know how else to say it. So yeah.
Not a good impression.
Not at all.
Hey guys, real quick, we've got a chat here off to the side. If you're on the YouTube, we can see that too. Go ahead and, I actually could go over it and check that YouTube. I'm not really sure, but we've got a thing here. Chat. You got questions, comments, go ahead and drop them in there and we'll try and get those answered for you here. Hey, Julie.
Yeah.
Just we got Sharon's first impression of Steffen, and it just doesn't seem. Oh, we lost Joe. Your first impression, just where you met Steffen and what your thoughts were on him.
Well, first of all, I met his ex-girlfriend long before I met him the first time. She came out from Ohio and actually started working for a rescue that I work with, in the Pacific Northwest up there. And so I heard about him long before I met him. And the first time I met him in person was after the rescue that I worked with placed 2 dogs there, and then I needed to place 2 of my own dogs there. So I went there and met him in person, spent several hours there.
Run more water now. Sharon,
okay, Joe. You have.
So let's with Saskia, she's I don't know what you would I'm gonna call her a ringleader. So she's kind of like the one who really made a big hoo-ha about Steffen.
Exactly, and like I said, she was warned. Remy's owner reached out to her, so did other animal advocates, and she basically said that Remy's owner, the dog that Steffen killed in Ohio that got this whole ball rolling and snowballing. she's all, oh, Remy's owner's motives are far from pure. And when we were still talking, and I think it was like 2016, she sent 2 dogs from OC Animal Care to Steffen in Ohio. One's dog name was Lita, and she's all, I've spent $20,000 to keep Lita in boarding for the last year. Lita was dumped on me by 2 other rescuers named Stacy and Sue. So I'm going to send Lita all the way to Ohio. I know you don't agree with, sending dogs across the country, but I'm sending him to Steffen Baldwin. Steffen's a good guy. He's a humane officer. He's legendary. I know him personally. He has a stellar reputation in the no-kill space, and it's awesome. So even when she was here and Steffen was in Ohio, she was sending Steffen dogs from OC Animal Care from Orange County into Ohio. And then she decided to bring him out here, as I said, so they could continue to do amazing life-saving work, and she wanted to duplicate the amazing life-saving work he was doing in Ohio. So I do know that from the court transcripts and stuff, she's now claiming that she was duped and she was defrauded by Steffen, but that's not true. She knew exactly what she was getting into. She was
blah, blah, right?
So now she's now backpedaled. But wasn't she, correct me if I'm wrong, Sharon, when this case broke, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't she pretty much coming to his defense? Like,
I won't say she was coming to his defense. This is what I know. This is what I know personally from volunteers and also from other people. So at the time, they were Underdog Alliance out in Acton was licensed. They had a kennel for 50. At the time of Steffen's arrest, which was July 23rd, 2020, one day before my birthday, they had 66 dogs out there. So they had a kennel permit for 50. They had 66 dogs out there. That included Steffen's 2 or 3 own dogs. So they had 66 behavioral dogs out there with Steffen and 2 other employees caring for them. So, I've been saying for a long time, there's no way that 1, 2, or 3 people could be caring humanely for 66 behavioral dogs. Okay. So
now these are not just, I don't want to say just dogs. These were not dogs that were.
They're not any old dogs. They're dogs.
Yeah, I mean, these are dogs. I mean,
I have behavioral problems.
Other dogs there too, not just pit bulls.
Yeah. There were 66 dogs on the premises at the time of his arrest.
And they all had issues.
Yes. They were all for training or behavioral. So, and here's the thing. I do know this. Okay. I do know that as of July, Saskia was in the process of separating from Steffen. She did ask for his resignation. So Steffen was in the process of resigning from Underdog Alliance when he was arrested.
I can tell you one more thing I know that he told me personally is that I'd say up until the 6 months before he was arrested, he started spending less and less time at that ranch because he told me so. So he wasn't around as much, and I believe there was 2 employees there.
Yeah, well, of course not. His Instagram was filled of days at Disneyland, dining at Yamashiro's. I mean, I dine at Yamashiro's. It cost me like $300 for 2 people to eat at Yamashiro's. It's a great restaurant. And his son would come into town, and he'd rent a red Porsche, convertible Porsche, to drive his son around town. That's like $800 a day. So yeah,
right.
And this is all off donations that people have made. He's basically living a high life off of donations of money that should be going to the fucking dogs, and he's out there renting a Porsche and going to high-end restaurants.
If you get paid to take in a dog, quote unquote, to sanctuary for life, if you get paid $7,000 a dog, what do you think you're going to be doing? Okay. $7,000 a dog.
Who pays that?
The rescue, or they do donations. They do fundraisers to rescue for the money to fundraise.
And then his thing is, he'll say, "I'm going to keep this dog here for 6 months and not put it up for adoption. I'm going to do this and that and the other with it. Blah blah blah. Rehabilitation." But and then he'll put them up on his pet finder, and
Try to adopt them out. Mm-hmm. And he was saying these are great dogs. He was hiding like their history, and saying they're good with children and in houses and with other pets when they weren't. So
exactly,
it's all a lie, all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, Joe. Let me ask you, Joe. Hearing this, you've been running Love a Pit for quite a while. Probably what 10 more than 10 years. And
We've
I
been
know
helping for at least 15 years. Yes.
okay, and you've had dogs with behavioral issues, and I know you've had a sanctuary dog or two, dogs that just can't, you can't, you can't.
They're not safe. They're not rehabilitatable.
Right.
They're not safe in the public. They just are
what we call lifers. Yeah.
I mean, but just for the sake of going, I'm throw caution and we go, hey, it'll be okay. There's only 53 people, or whatever. But I mean, your thoughts on, 66 dogs with behavioral issues. I mean,
now, some of those dogs were there for training. They were in like a board and train situation, not permanent, gonna leave, come and go. So he told me that he made some of his money off of that kind of stuff. So people would bring a troubled dog there and, he would work with it and stuff. So I would say not all of the 66 dogs were sanctuaried.
Yeah. Some of them were born in training.
Yeah. When I was there, there were 55.
But they still had problems,
Yeah.
They were
That's
all
why we're there, right. Yeah.
Even at that, I mean, we've been doing this, like I said, 15 plus years, and we run between 10 and 20 dogs at a time here, depending on how well they are and how much they are. If we have more trouble dogs, we take less dogs. If we have less trouble dogs, we take more. But for the two of us to run that is exhausting at 20 dogs. There's no way two people can run 66 dogs.
66, yeah, and that's what I keep saying. I mean, for 2 years, I was posting them on Paw Page, and I'm like, look, we all want to see the pit bulls saved. We all want to see them out of the shelter. This isn't the way. This isn't humane. This isn't ethical, and this is not responsible. There's no way 50, 54, and at the time, there was a volunteer that reached out to me, and, he told me, he's all like, while I was there were 54 dogs, and Steffen and Saskia fought all the time. Steffen told me all the time he didn't want to take any more dogs, but Saskia kept pushing him to take more and more and more. And that was because she had to keep her narrative up of the amazing life work they were doing. And it was all ego driven. It wasn't about the dogs. I do know that when when Saskia brought Steffen from Ohio, Patrick, she gave him $20,000 while he was still in Ohio to move out here. So she gave him $20,000 to move out here, and then during our talks, on the phone, she would tell me, and I would tell her, I think this is a bad idea, this, and she's all, no, it's okay, and trust me, I know what I'm doing. And I did ask her, besides acting, and she told me because they could fly under LA County Animal Control's radar. She's all, I'm renting the house. My husband doesn't know. I have to hide this with my husband because I was all like, there's plenty of land in San Diego. Why are you putting him out in that? And she's all, I can't put him in San Diego. I don't want him close to me. I don't want my husband to know I'm renting the place. My husband doesn't know I'm doing any of this. So that's why another reason why she also went out and acted.
Interesting.
I don't want to come to Steffen's defense and saying he was manipulated.
I believe he was
driven into this, but it sounds to me like Saskia is one of those people who, I don't know what her motives are or were, but it just sounds to me like, you throw 20 grand at somebody.
Here's the thing, Patrick, and I've spoken at length with Litz, Remy's owner, and I'm like, I know Steffen is ultimately, he's the one that killed all these dogs, and stuff. And I'm like, but he was manipulated by, I won't say manipulated. Here's the thing. So when Saskia and I was first talking, and as in the screenshot she sent, she started with a rescue out in San Diego called It's the Pits, right? And I know this from experience because all my conversations, I've sent them to an attorney and I've sent them to another animal advocate in LA, a well-known, well-respected animal advocate. And you know what they said? Both of them, they're all like, you know what she's doing, right? They're like, oh my God. They're all like, it's obvious if you go through all the texts. It's like she was trying to groom the owner of It's the Pits. She was trying to groom her no-kill mantra. She tried to groom the owner of It's the Pits. She tried to groom the third co-founder of Underdog Alliance, Summer Parker. She tried to groom you. She tried to groom Steffen. That's what she does. That's her MO. She's been doing it for years. When you don't agree with her stance, she becomes like, she's just vicious. She becomes vicious, and displays a bunch of animosity. But that's what she does, is she grooms people.
It sounds like that's what she was trying to do to you, and with your resistance.
I was all like, I'm not having it.
It didn't sound like she liked it.
And same with Steffen. I know Steffen's not innocent in this, but I do believe that Steffen was manipulated by Saskia 100%. I believe that, and I also believe that she tried to groom Steffen. She sure did. And then he started resisting as well.
And that's it's not a defense to the things that he's done. I'll let talk, as far as the charges, anything in front of you, Sharon? If not, I can pull that up through some of our things. Some of these charges, early on, it looked like a lot of these were going to be dismissed. I see, but we're talking, of course, the animal cruelty charges. These are all felony charges. With the animal cruelty, he's killing dogs. It's just
well, not only directly was he killing dogs, but he through whatever means or however, dogs were killing each other, and that's how they would die, because they'd get they'd rat pack on one. He had too many dogs together at one time, stranger to each other, the socializing part, and he didn't know. I feel like he didn't know what he was doing. The dogs would get in a fight, and he couldn't break it up.
Yeah, and so he was on a podcast called Getting Real with Josh Boyer, right? And if you go to 1 minute and 1 hour and 48 minutes in the podcast, he admits it. He admits that he had dogs in play groups out at, he calls it the Ranch in Acton. I call it the Sanctuary of Sorrows. So he had dogs out at the Sanctuary of Sorrows, and he put them in play groups, and they killed each other because he didn't know how to break it up. I'll break up the dog fights.
Well, it's inappropriate to do it in the first place.
He admits that on a podcast, that dogs were dying in the play groups. I think he said like six dogs died in the play group because they all fought each other, and he didn't know how to break it up. And that was out in Acton. So, yeah.
Well, that's why my interview with Ryan, I talked about the first time I met him. I don't know, because they're pit bulls and everything. His stature to me, he's a small man. He's not a big guy. He's not all muscled up, and in my opinion, just strong enough to manhandle dogs, especially a pit bull fight. He's a slight man, and I talked to Ryan about that. It's not anything discriminatory. It's like I'm a slight woman, and I've been in the middle of 6 dogs in a fight, trying to break it up, and did successfully break it up, but it took everything I had to do it, and it's difficult, and sometimes it requires you to physically, grab the aggressor and manhandle them, and put your arm around their neck and choke them out to make them stop. That's brutal, and I just could not envision him doing that. I guess that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not like you got, it's not like a 2-dog thing. You're talking a pack mentality. All of a sudden, everybody's involved.
I've been in the middle of those dogs, right? They don't stop, and if they see you, the other dogs will jump in. If they see you, however they perceive me as a human aggressing a dog, even though that dog's aggressive and I'm trying to stop it, they will attack you. And that has also happened to me. I'm trying to break up the 2 dogs that started and the other one's coming in. A dog has just randomly come up and, bit me on the leg or bit me on the arm because of they're seeing my actions as aggressive, So it is a real dangerous situation to be in, and you can lose your life. in those kind of situations. And so, I guess that's why my impression of him and, physically and everything was I did not see him as somebody to handle that. And then I really didn't know, didn't have the experience. You don't put strange pit bulls together, 6 pit bulls together in Facebook. You just don't do it, So anyway.
How did all these charges come up, Sharon? Well, I mean, what was the catalyst that really brought, that got the attention of law enforcement on this?
So how it came up was Lisa, who was the owner of Remy, and I mean, she has a rescue. She mainly does pit bulls. She's in it for all the right reasons. She's not in it for
bloodhound, man. Yeah.
Or social media status.
Right.
She's in it for the pit bulls. So she sent Remy to Steffen because Remy was declared vicious and by the dog pound. So Steffen told her he could get the vicious dog designation removed. So she sent Remy to Steffen, and at first everything was fine. And then she would ask for like updates, and he was all like, "Oh yeah, Remy's fine. Remy's doing good. No problem." He had Remy euthanized at the vet because he claimed that Remy killed his other dog, Zach, which was his personal dog. He said that, it was his fault, but he left Remy and Zach alone. He went out for 4 or 5 hours and he came back. Remy had Zach, so he had to go to the vet and put Remy down. But the vet says there were no bite marks on Remy or no indication whatsoever that he had been in any kind of dog fight. So, Lisa was all like, "I'm not having this." And then he was texting her like for 4 months after he had already had euthanized Remy, saying, "Yeah, our training's going good. He's doing good. He's making progress." He went out and he licensed Remy. Even after he euthanized Remy, he licensed him to give like assurance that Remy was still alive. So Lisa lives in a town. Lisa lives in a town called Campbell, Ohio. She went to the Campbell Police Department. She made a report with this police officer named Officer Jim Conroy. Officer Jim Conroy just started investigating. It started with Remy, and from there it just snowballed. And I mean, they know of in Ohio alone 18 dogs. Okay, 18 dogs that are dead and missing and unaccounted for. 18 that they know of that they can prove with facts, substantiate. But Officer Conroy is saying there's 35 more that they don't know of, 35 to 60.
Oh my gosh.
A lot. So there's
was Remy surrendered to Baldwin?
No.
Or he was not. So he
killed a dog.
He killed a dog that he got absolutely no. I mean, I don't care if Remy, I'm sorry,
he was there for board and train.
It wasn't his dog to make that kind of decision.
It was not his decision. He says, if you listen to the Getting Real podcast with Josh Boyer, he says they surrendered Remy over to me. At that point, Remy was my dog. I could do whatever I want with Remy. He was my dog, and that's an absolute lie. That was a lie. That is a lie.
So basically, he had no legal even sanction that he could put Remy down because it was a training program and not a surrender.
Exactly.
He should have contacted her immediately when that event happened. He should have contacted her immediately and just told her, you got to take your dog back or something.
He didn't want to do that because then, at that time he was known, he was the pit bull whisperer, well known. And if he did that, it would have blown his smoke and mirrors cover,
Right.
So.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, I heard from Officer Conroy about the condition of the house when he left it, and I don't understand how anybody, just like how anybody would be okay to put a dog there in that property. And I mean, in Ohio, I'm like, the dogs that we sent there, I'm like, oh my God, my dog lived there like that. Ooh,
Right.
It was really bad.
So, 35 to
60.
dogs.
Mhm.
And is that between Ohio and Acton or just Ohio?
That's just Ohio.
That is insane. See, insane.
These dogs are unaccounted for. These dogs, nobody knows. It's not like dogs. Part of these dogs
Yeah.
are there. These are 60 up to 60.
Yeah, there's 18
That-
there's 18 that they can actually prove 18, and then 35 to 60 more that.
His property wasn't even set up to have more than a few at a time. According to what I was told, he really didn't have that kind of a setup.
And these 18 dogs are part of the charges that are listed.
Some of them, yes, not all of them, yes.
How many are listed on the actual list?
I don't know. I have like
Isn't it between 8 and 11 or something like that, Sharon?
Gucci, Mozart, Remy. I don't know.
I think it's between 8 and 11. I
Okay.
believe, according to what I read a little while back, according to you sent me, I think it's around between 8 and 11.
Yeah,
Because
that's
the felonies, the felonies that they want to stick, right?
no. He's talking how many dogs total are named in the indictment, right? Patrick, you're asking how many dogs are named in the indictment?
Yes.
That I don't. I know there's Gucci, Remy, Mozart. Those are the only ones I know of offhand. But Beretta, there's some more. I think there's like 7 or 8. I can't say for certain.
Yeah, I'm looking for that copy that you sent me. I gotta go way back.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of things.
On this. But these documents that you sent, they're all, they're all, what do you call it? Anybody can look this stuff up. This is all
public. It's public record.
Public record. Thank you.
Those are facts. Those are facts that
Right.
speak to the truth of what happened.
Right.
Let me see here, but
of course, the other question is, so they had 66 dogs out there with 3 people, taking care of them, Steffen and 2 others. Is that considered humane and sustainable? I mean, I don't think so, but like I said, I know there are people that just want to get the dogs out there, but my advice to those people is do your due diligence, and research these rescues and sanctuaries and see what they're really about. We all want to see them saved, but
I call it warehousing. He
it
was
is
warehousing dogs. He had rows of kennels up behind his house, chain link on dirt, had some play yard areas and stuff. And then down below, in between the times that I came to visit him, he put up, I believe they're 10 by 6 kennels, and he probably had 10 or 15 down there, side by side, covered in tarps. And, that's no way for a dog to live.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say he was warehousing and stuff. And I was pretty upset about that. When I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, and then I'm like, this is not good at all.
Yeah, like I said, just make sure you know what kind of a rescue your dog is going to before you tag or ask that rescue for help. Unfortunately, it is a sad reality that not all rescues are good rescues.
Yeah.
And just having a 501c3 doesn't make you any better. It's just a tax exempt status. It doesn't say you're a great rescue.
It's a federal status of taxes. It has nothing to do with how good or bad you do your job.
Right.
But people think it seems like it makes them more legit, but really, it makes them more legit to take your money, and give you a tax exemption, but, and it gives them the ability to kind of raise more money based on that status, but it absolutely does not make them good. So.
And meanwhile, rescues like Love Pit, what Joe's doing, they at times there's a struggle. I've had rescues and by I had some fantastic neighbors. I would come home and all my neighbors knew that I had dogs that I was taking care of. I come home, I'd find a 40-pound bag of dog food sitting on my porch.
Yeah, that happens to me a few times too.
And
that would do everything. I'll take the fucking food over a cash donation any day of the week, because I don't have to go out and drive down and go and get that food. It showed up at my door.
And and that's the other thing I kept saying. I'm like, how does a rescue that was in 9 months in operation, the first 9 months in the operation, rake in $375,000 their first year? 9 months in operation. Like, come on, Steffen and Saskia, they rifled through the shelters looking for the most severe behavioral dogs they could find, like a kid in or
that's
photo and video ops, and then let them rot in the kennel. It's like, it was disgusting. And I kept saying things about it, but once again, I can try to educate the general public, and it's up to them whether or not, they want to heed. So,
in theory, I mean, if you look at it and just maybe from a shelter person perspective, you've got an individual that says, hey, I want to help. I mean, I know, and if you've got a dog, I'm looking for, I want to help you out. And they go, dogs with a big, take if you pull a dog and you work with that dog, and if that dog shows enough potential, to be adoptable, but, to pull that amount of just start yanking dogs for what? I mean,
yeah. They were yanking dogs so they could try to make a point. It was all smoke and mirrors. It was a house of cards, and I had always said eventually Underdog Alliance would implode, and they finally did. But they took all these dogs. What's that word? Boasted about their amazing life-saving work they were doing. Took them out for photo ops, and then put them back in a kennel and allowed them to rot. It was absolutely disgusting. So.
Yeah, no enrichment. I mean, I don't,
there was no enrichment.
Give them a good life and everything. I mean, a few years back, agreed to foster a pit bull that came out, I think it was Downey, for another rescue, and that lady has since passed on. But I had that dog for a year and a half. It took me a year and a half for that single pit bull to rehab him. We sent him to 6 weeks of professional training they specialize in fear, anxiety, and aggression. Fully certified, blah, 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 nearby, totally legit. And it, it was great. It worked really well with him. And so a year and a half later, he was, I sent him up to the rescue that I work with to try to find him a home. And Steffen's ex-girlfriend, Megan, kind of bonded with that dog. But I'm just saying, it goes to show one dog a year and a half that had all of these behaviors and stuff. I mean, if I would have seen the video of him at Downey before I agreed, I don't know if I would have even taken that dog, because he was snapping and really aggressing the person filming. But he turned out to be a great dog, and unfortunately, he developed spleen cancer, and we had to let him go before he found a home. But it's a lot of work.
Yes.
With one dog. I mean, muzzle work, dog on dog. I mean, training. I mean, tricks, whatever. A lot of work. One dog. Crazy. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I kept saying, I'm like, look, people, you keep cheerleading them on. I mean, they posted about taking 18 dogs, 18 large behavioral breeds out of OC within a matter of 2 weeks. I'm like, this rescue cannot sustain, and humanely take out 18 dogs in 2 weeks, like behavioral pit bulls. I'm like,
and then put them together.
There's no foster dogs. There's no magical unicorn land where these fosters or adopters are lining up for these dogs. Where are these dogs going? Like, hello.
Well, and then, we put them together in play groups. These dogs that came, you know what I mean? Those dogs in play groups inappropriately,
Yeah. So there's a lot.
It's like with our organization here, I mean, we don't advertise every dog that we have in our rescue or anything like that. We ask for help with the dogs that we need help with, and other than that, we do the rehabilitation work, put them on pet finders, and find them a home. We're not out there boasting what we're doing on Facebook or anything like that, because that's time taken away from the dog. That's
You're kind of busy. You're busy taking care of them and working with them, right? You're busy with your life. No, who has time for that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would. I got this. I'm gonna try and bring this up here.
We lost Patrick for a sec. There he is.
There he is.
I have been under the weather, guys, so please forgive me here on this. Let me try and bring this up.
There's a pibble.
Yeah.
He's moving around so fast.
Charges here.
And while you're trying to bring that up, Patrick, I'm also going to add, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I mean, just moving the large behavioral pit bulls, like taking out of OC and sending them to Canada or something, is not the answer. Moving these large behavioral pit bulls all across the country is not the answer. That doesn't address the source. And the source, of course, is free spay neuter for the communities, enforcement, education, and backyard breeding. So,
the other problem that we have is we have quote unquote cross posters and people setting up their pledge PMs and advocating for these dogs and trying to collect a whole bunch of money to quote unquote entice a rescue. Some of these people that are doing that, they're slinging dogs everywhere, don't even have, the experience, would never take one themselves, so they're also responsible for, these dogs being sent to places unknown. And people don't follow up. They're like, all right, we saved this one, move on to the next one. People don't go back and follow up. And so a lot more dogs, not just with Steffen, but everywhere, they disappear. And some of these people are in it for the money and not for the dog.
Exactly.
So
for their ego and for their glory and to be a pit bull hero,
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
Are you all able to read that right there, what I've got up on the screen share?
I don't know if I oh wait.
You can try and zoom in a little bit more. This is count one. These are some of the charges they're on Baldwin now. This is I believe Sharon, that you sent is the supersede.
Yes, indictment. Yes,
indictment, and the count one of bribery. And then we've got tampering with records, telecommunications fraud, tampering with records again, tampering with records. What knowledge do you have of, here we go, count 6, tampering with records, falsification, count 7.
Our stuff.
And cruelty to companion animals is count 8.
Yeah.
This guy, he's been a really busy fella.
Yeah.
About these other charges. What are you familiar with? Where these? Because the telecommunications fraud is as an example. Any background information that you would have on those, Sharon, or is it?
I think the telecommunications fraud is the text and the text between Steffen and Remy's owner Litsa regarding to Remy.
Okay.
Yeah, lying about him. Yeah, lying about him for months and months after we killed him, and probably also, taking money for dogs that were dead.
Okay.
Probably taking money on dead, not just him, but probably others.
Yeah. Grand theft.
Yeah.
Firearm, impersonation of police officer, or impersonation of peace officer or private police officer. Where does that come in? Anything on that charge there?
I'm not clear on that, so I can't speak on that because I'm not clear on that.
I think I'm not going to speak on it either because I don't remember the stuff right now, but it's in several articles that were published after he was arrested. That came out in August of last year. Some of that stuff in more detail is in those articles. I just don't have that handy right now. So
okay.
He got somebody's gun. I don't even think it was his gun. He did something kind of aggressive with somebody, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, I mean, there are several telecommunications fraud and tampering with records charges.
Yeah.
The cruelty companion animals. There's count 29, count 30, count 31, count 32. Cruelty to companion animals.
A bunch.
I get it that you want to help animals, but I mean, I'm not a psychologist. We don't have one here, so I don't have any of that to kind of bounce back on. But what I don't get the killing. I mean, you're in this to save dogs, and here this guy is with multiple counts of animal cruelty charges, and these dogs, nobody knows where they're at.
Yep. And not only that, that was made known to all these groups that helped Steffen in California. And I don't know if you're aware, but like he was in the Long Beach Unified School District, and he was going into the Chino Unified School District, and he was teaching anti-animal cruelty and anti-bullying to children, right? I mean,
ironic.
Live Love Animal Rescue Long Beach, Pity Paw Professors Long Beach, Blockhead Brigade Long Beach. These are all supposed to be all pro pitbull animal advocacy groups, and every single one of them knew. They knew that he had an open, active investigation going on in Ohio, and we wrote them. We're like, he's going to be arrested. It's not a matter of if he's going to be arrested. He is going to be arrested. It's going to be when. They still kept sending him into schools. They were all like, pitbull extraordinaire Steffen Baldwin teaching children. And then he would bring this dog into the school with him named Belle. He claimed Belle was a bait dog. Belle was never a bait dog. Okay. So he would bring Belle into the schools claiming this was a bait dog and talking about her resiliency. And he did a self-published book on her on Amazon called like Belle and the Hot Dog Man. And they were promoting it in the schools, and Live Love Animal Rescue, Blockhead Brigade, Pity Paw Professors were all like elevating him in the schools. And they all knew what was happening in Ohio. And they're all like, they're just charges, they're not,
he hasn't been convicted.
He hasn't been convicted. They're just charges, but they let him into schools. And so I wrote Long Beach Unified School District, and I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know I don't agree with this, and it's going to look bad for you when he gets arrested. That you allowed this man to come into your school and elementary school children. Like, hello. Yeah. So they discontinued the program.
Did they ever respond?
They didn't. They just discontinued the program.
Right.
Well, if they discontinued it, that's a step in the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're pro pitbull advocacy groups, but you're protecting, the abuser over the animals. It was just absolutely disgusting. Just disgusting.
When I mean, there's the whole thing. Innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, but let's say okay, Patrick. So let's say you never knew me, right? Didn't know me from Adam, and all of a sudden I just send you an email, and I'm like, "Hey, Patrick, I see you're working with Steffen Baldwin, or you sent Steffen Baldwin a dog, or whatever. I just want to let you know that he has like an open, active criminal investigation currently in Ohio for animal cruelty, animal neglect. Are you still going to go work with him after knowing that?"
No, I'm going to go get my dog back.
Exactly.
I'm certainly going to do some investigation.
See, I mean, there it is. I mean, okay, but there is that. But where you went exactly where I was going with that. I go, but I'm gonna go get my dog until we figure this shit out.
Exactly.
If you talk, hopefully that dog is still alive.
Right. So Julie and the rescue she works with, they sent Julie sent 2 of her personal dogs there, and the rescue sent 2 dogs. So they spent $28,000 total $28,000 for 4 dogs, and then all 4 dogs eventually came back to them. So, Julie, can you just share, like, when you went to pick up your dog, that Steffen, the condition they were in?
All right. So the 2 dogs that I set there, I really we didn't want to do it, but I was kind of in a situation where they were going to be with me in an environment where the public was going to be, interacting and stuff, and they were, potentially a liability. So they went there. And I took them there in February of 2019, and then I kind of kept track of them, which I firmly believe, people that keep track of their dogs and reach out and stuff and ask for updates, those are the dogs that are going to live, because, that's just kind of how I think about it. He's less likely to kill those. Anyway, I kept track of them over the summer. I went there and visited them several times. And one in particular, the 2 declined. I watched him, losing weight and everything. And so by the time they were up on Pet Finder, which was in August of 2019, I believe, one of them had lost a lot of weight. It was Shepherd mix. And he, if you can see the ribs, full outline of the ribs and their hips going back to the points, on the back of their tail, their hip points and all that, in a Shepherd, they're too thin, right? That's pretty thin. And we had those horrible pictures of these dogs up on Pet Finder. The other dog was a Weimaraner mix, and he wrote, in spite of half of his ear missing, this dog, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? How is half of this dog's ear missing, right? I'm like, oh my gosh. Bottom line is, in the end, I decided that, my dogs, the Shepherd in particular, were not doing well, that they weren't being taken care of in spite of all the money that was given to him. And I decided to take him back on my own. And I did that. And on the night that I picked him up, the Weimaraner mix did have a piece of his ear. It's just gone, the whole tip. And then he had open wounds on his chest from fighting, way overgrown toenails. His weight was okay. Shepherd, he had a broken canine. When I was able to examine, one of his canines was also broken. The Shepherd was so severely underweight that he tried to jump into the back of my pickup, and he jumped in the air, and his chest hit the tailgate, knocked the wind out of him, and he fell to the ground on his side. And Steffen was there in the sun. It was kind of dark, and he kind of giggled or chuckled. He thought it was funny. I was horrified. My dog is so weak. He can't even get in the truck, which, I brought him down there, and that, he was totally not like that. So I got him home, and ended up, where I could, so I drove a long way to go down and pick him up. I got him home to look in the light, took a lot of pictures, documentation, and then, so I kept, stools and everything. There was no poop until the next morning. The Shepherd pooped out in the backyard, pure rocks and gravel. Not one scrap of dog food and poop. Several times I'm like horrified, right? Horrified. He was starving to death, and I firmly believe if I hadn't have pulled him out of there when I did, he would have died there.
Yeah.
He would have died there. So, I told him expressly, not to feed them together, because one of them was extremely food aggressive and a hog, and the other one, Nick, came there on several different medications for behavior. He was, he's kind of a guard dog and stuff, and he didn't do well boarding and stuff, and so he came on these medications. They're similar to the ones that humans take, and you're not supposed to just cut them off. You're supposed to wean them off. And so I told him that, but he's like, I'm just going to give him CBD oil, right? He's just like, fuck it. I'm just going to do what I want. And that's probably what he did, if he gave him anything at all, right? I told him they can't be fed together because Nick is anxious and nervous, and, the other dogs would get all his food. And he goes, so I questioned him over time, why is Nick losing weight? And he goes, he's fine, he's eating. And I'm like, no, he's not. Obviously you can see he's practically a skeleton. So, that was my unfortunate, you figure you pay $7,000 a dog. I expected that I'm sure he never took his dog to the vet, but I expected that because I kind of talked about that with him too, about, going to the vet, talking about weaning him off of those medications and all that. None of that happened. I would guarantee that none of that happened, because when I did ask him for records, when I picked him up, he didn't even respond to me. But during the course of the 9 months that they were there, I think it was total. I would, I'd email them how the dogs do and stuff, and I would get this generic blow smoke up the ass response like, "Oh, they're doing so great! Oh, they love each other. They're awesome." Like, those dogs do not love each other.
I don't get how. I mean, the numbers that he's $7,000.
Yeah, think about
I mean,
he had 55 dogs at the time I was there. I asked him about that specifically. 55 dogs. One of his employees had already been severely mauled and was pulled up in a camp trailer on the property when I was there. I didn't meet him, but I knew about him. About 55 dogs and short help. And I know by the time I picked my two up, the other two dogs that were there were street dogs that came from other countries, so they were kind of a little more tough, to living in the dirt, like that. Because I can't stand it, but they were not as, my dogs had couches, birds that lived in the house.
Julie, your signal is really broken up. I have a real hard time hearing you on this side.
Oh, what happened?
We can't hear you.
Your sound is very.
Sounds like you're off in the tunnel somewhere.
What do I do? Can you hear me now?
It's a little hard. It's very tinny and kind of a weak.
Hold.
I don't know how to fix it.
All right, we'll deal with it.
Sorry.
I just don't know where he comes up with this number of $7,000 for a dog. I mean, would that mean did he tell you what he's going to do with that money? I mean, that seems to me like.
But you would have known that since he's not going to post them for 6 months, he's not going to try to rehome them. And the talk is, oh, we're going to work with them, we're going to see what they're like, we're going to do this and that. They're going to rehab them, quote unquote, to get them a dog, right? I mean, I've had these dogs since 2015. One came from a Aurora shelter, Southern California. The other one came from Japan. I've had them since 2013. One of them I adopted out to a really great couple down in Santa Cruz, and I warned him. I said, look, this is a guard dog, so you need to make sure he's going to have a hard time adjusting to you, but also, you need to make sure your gates are open and stuff, but do not let him roam because he will fight. And sure enough, the landlord showed up while they weren't home and went in the property, and he beat him. So, I got him back. So, I've had it since 2013, and I tried for years to find these dogs at home, and I could not successfully home these dogs. Two of 100 that I have, so they were really difficult in that sense.
Well, here's something I don't understand. And I mean, obviously, this is talking from a rescuer's point. So typically, I mean, the biggest dog that we end up getting anything off of it is we've taken in a couple seniors that had $1,000 on them. The last one that we took in, they had $1,000 on them. We had everything lined up from their lab to their mammary cancer removal and their spay and everything they needed done through vets that we work with that give us 501c3 discounts for being a rescue for that $1,000. The last one ended up having emergency pyrometry surgery that ate up that $1,000, and we had to pay for the rest out of pocket. It was what it was. So I don't see how somebody can take in a dog at $7,000 and not even be able to afford to take him to a vet visit, let alone give them
Exactly.
Couldn't even trim their fucking toenails.
Because you're driving around in a Porsche with your kid.
Yeah, a rented one.
I can joke about that all I want, but that's the fucking truth.
I don't know if that income was reported. Just to me, that's income. I do not know how he dealt with that in the IRS and all that, but it's true that he got $7,000 a piece. He took in 4 dogs. The other 2 came in separately. The thing is that his ex-girlfriend, promoted him to the rescue and said, "Oh, he's great," blah blah. So we sent a pit bull to Ohio, but we drove it there. One of the staff members went with his ex Megan, drove all the way back there to check out his property. At the time, that was over here, before he came to California. But I was like, I don't know, what, did you live in the house? I'm like, must have been okay to leave the dog because they restricted if you don't like it, don't leave the dog. And then he brought that dog out to California with him, and it's one of the four that came back. But I just, I started having my doubts early on when he came to Acton. I didn't know anything about the Ohio stuff, but it's just having been in this industry for a while, you just kind of focus on little things. There's trends, there's patterns, and time again, these people, quickly rising to fame, all the, the accolades and the recognition, their ego, all that stuff. And so early on, I was like, I don't know about this. And so, I expressed my concerns early on. I really didn't want to send any dogs there, but, just like Sharon, I wasn't listened to in the beginning. Oh, no, it's fine. Blah, blah, blah. We went there. I'm like, well, but I went there too, and I had problems with what I saw. I saw warehouse dogs. How is that okay? Warehouse dogs live inside. It's brutally cold, freezing, snowing in Acton in the winter. It's so cold there. And it's brutally hot. So hot there.
And in the summer, it gets to like 110, 112.
It's brutal. And, these dogs are warehouse, side by side.
Outside. Yep.
Covered with tarps, living in the dirt. How is that okay?
Yeah.
Not okay.
I can't even fathom taking in $7,000 per dog. I mean,
exactly. But some people, are fortunate enough to have a little more than others. And if I guess people are kind of desperate. People believed in him and trusted him to give the money to sanctuary that dog for life. So $7,000 is supposed to that should last a long time because that dog, all the health issues, the neuter, everything that dog needed at that time was already taken care of.
He told one rescue that sent him a dog that they were lucky they were getting $7,000 because the dog was deaf, because he said he usually charges $14,000, so he was giving them a discount at $7,000.
That's bullshit. That's total bullshit, man. That's a con right there, Just like I told Ryan when I first met him, I instantly
he's slimy. He's slimy. There's no
instantly I was like on alert, and I believe he's probably responsible for the death of his Doberman Bullwinkle too, because he tried to give that dog human, like a human personality or the ability like a human does to discern and to judge and to make decisions. That's the kind of stuff he put on that dog to me. And I thought to myself, you are fucking crazy, because you don't know my dogs. We're there walking for the first time. I'm introducing you to my dog, and your dog is running around loose, free to come and go, and you're just saying, he's just hanging out. He just would never know if one of my dogs decided to lunge and attack that dog, which likely one of them would have. And so I felt like he was reckless and careless, and Bullwinkle was attacked, got into a fight, and ultimately died on the table from complications from that fight. I think he, lied to the public about it, but I thought to myself, you're just a fucking moron for, that, first of all. And second, just kind of his demeanor with me. See, he has no idea if he ever hears of stuff, he would find out different. He never had a clue that I thought he was, a con or anything, but way too agreeable with me, kind of shaking his head, really agreeable and stuff, too agreeable. And just, so I was so unhappy and voiced my pleasure, and I watched my dogs like a hawk. I did that, and so in the end, I was right. And I, suffered some consequences for pulling my dogs out of there, but to me, it was worth it in the end.
So when you went into his house, what did you see inside his house, Julie? Because you were lucky to be allowed to go inside.
First of all, when I walked up on the porch, it was like I think it was sort of like a modular. It was either
a trailer. He lived in a trailer.
Yeah, but it was fair size, so it had a little porch around us. You could walk around on the outside. First of all, there was a dog in his bedroom, and I just forget the name of the dog. I think it was a dark color that was so reactive and vicious at the window to me that I thought at the time it was going to bust the window and get out and attack me. That's how bad. I mean, I was like, holy crap, right? He made a couple of signals or whatever. The dog stopped. And we went in the house. And so I wanted to see where my dogs were going to be housed. And I did not realize that they were going to be housed in the dirt outside like that. I don't know. So he put them in cages, in those big heavy bar cages, kept to keep in the living room and stuff. And he wasn't even going to offer him a freaking blanket to lay on in there. I'm like, aren't you going to put some blankets down? They're going to spend a week in here. You know, they need to have blankets or a bed to lay on. I don't want them on bars, for Christ's sake. Because they lived in my house on, they had their own couches. So he would have done that. I firmly believe he would have done that if I wouldn't have insisted. But, when I leave, who knows what he did. He had several other dogs traded, here and there. The house was clean. It wasn't all, the house was clean. And then there was a young woman there. She looked like a teenager or a very young adult. And she never said a word to me. And I'm assuming that was his girlfriend at the time. Not a word. Never said a word. Never interacted with me at all. And so I was in there, and then, we took the dogs for a walk, walked up the hill behind and all that. So, I was there on the property for a couple of hours with him.
With Sharon, you follow the case, the current case a lot more than we're able to hear. Is Steffen Baldwin out on bail?
Yes, he's currently out on bail. He's currently living out of a motel room in Dayton, Ohio. Yeah. And he has 3 attorneys. He has 3 of the most high-profile criminal defense attorneys in Ohio.
He's got the money. He can afford it. You get $7,000 for a dog.
If he thinks you have money, he charges more.
Yeah,
that's what he does. Not all of his dogs are $7,000 dogs, but still, the more he thinks you have, the more he's going to ask for.
I hope they bleed him dry.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, knowing this industry the way that I do and everything, $7,000 was bad enough, but trying to tell me that you typically charge $14,000 for a deaf dog would have been a fuck off moment for me.
That's bullshit. Yeah. I mean, I have a deaf dog laying at my feet right now. The hardest part is, sign language. You got to teach him some stuff, but you know what I mean? It's like, wow, that is crazy.
We had a tone deaf one here for years. It was a great dog.
Yeah, and then 5 months before he was arrested, February, I believe, February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, in February, there was a dog from OC Animal Care, Newman, and there was another dog from OC Animal Care, Dozer. And, he would take these dogs out and post photos and videos for donations. He had a vet come in onto the property, a mobile vet, and he had Newman and Dozer from OC Animal Care and another dog named Bosco euthanized right there on the property. So he took those dogs out, used them on props to get maximum donations into his rescue, and then he eventually euthanized them. Now, Saskia claims she didn't know those dogs were euthanized. She is the founder of Underdog Alliance. She is the leader, the apex of this organization. In her professional life, she is a medical doctor, so could you imagine her running her medical doctor practice like she does her rescue? So once again, she's claiming victim, claiming she didn't know any of these things were going on, but I don't believe that at all. I don't believe it at all.
What is the status of Underdog Alliance now? Are they still operating, or is that?
They are operating. They have pulled dogs. OC Animal Care knows about them. The Orange County Board of Supervisors knows about them, because what's funny is she used to stand before the Orange County supervisor demanding they do something about OC Animal Care and accountability, and the shelter director at OC Animal Care is awful. And then she's demanded accountability from Marcia Maeda, who is Los Angeles County Animal Services. She's spoken tons of shit about Madeline Bernstein, who runs SBCLA. that does a lot of good work, by the way, demanding accountability. Yet here's her rescue. Newman, Dozer, Bosco are euthanized. Goober mauled a volunteer. The volunteer was in the hospital. The volunteer is going to go through years of rehabilitation. Goober broke his legs, broke his arms, and then after that,
not bad. Yeah.
And who's paying her medical bills?
nobody's paying this volunteer's medical bills. So I'm in contact with the volunteer. I speak to him regularly. And at no time did Saskia, Steffen, or Underdog Alliance offer to pay off any of his medical or hospitalization. He's going to require care for the rest of his life.
That bad. It was that bad.
Yeah.
The dog disabled him basically. Really, really fucking rough.
Yeah. Broke his arm, broke his leg. He said that the dog was going for his throat, and he was laying in the grass. The dog was on his throat. He was holding the dog off his throat, and then another another volunteer named Jim Breakwood came in and broke it up. And he said if Jim Breakwood had not come in and broke it up, he would be dead because that dog would have ripped his throat out. So yeah. Mm-hmm. And then so Steffen posts this big old story on Instagram talking about, I'm sorry, boy. So LA Animal Control allowed Steffen to take that dog to the vet, and then he euthanized that dog at the vet. And he had a picture of him and the dog, and he's crying tears all down his face, talking about euthanizing the dog. And that dog was driven to him from Minnesota, from a rescue in Minnesota, and they did a fundraiser, and they raised $7,000 to bring Goober from Minnesota to Steffen out in Acton.
And can you imagine if a dog is that bad, him allowing volunteers, putting them at risk, high of a risk.
And so that was, Steffen's fault. He told the volunteer at that time, and that volunteer actually came from another country. That volunteer came from England.
Yeah,
and he was there to shadow Steffen. Steffen was like his idol, So he was there to shadow.
He's a big guy too. The volunteer. He was a pretty big fellow, right?
Well, Jim Breakwood, the one that got Goober off, but the volunteer being mauled. No, he's super little, little. But so what happened was Steffen gave him a bowl of dog food and told him to go in there and feed Goober, right? So how are you going to tell a volunteer to go in and feed a dog-reactive dog, right, and a food-aggressive dog? So he went in there, he laid the food down, and then, I don't know, something happened, and then I think he
immediately
tried to move the food bowl or something, and Goober just reacted and attacked him. Yeah.
He should have left immediately. You put the food down, and that's it. You turn around
there, and he stayed in there. And I think he tried to move the bowl or take the bowl away for some reason, and then he was attacked and mauled. And he sat in the hospital, broken leg, broken arm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Joe, I'm going to ask you a question I already know the answer to, and I think the rest of us here know too. Would you ever put a volunteer in that position, knowing that dog was reactive like that?
Reactive and food aggressive.
Any of our dogs that are like that gets a red tag on their play yard, and only us as owners are allowed to go into the bin.
Exactly.
I mean, I had a 190-pound Spanish Mastiff that was very food aggressive and ended up in a shelter because he went after. There was a couple, he got rehomed. He went after them, but they were told, "Don't mess with food," right? And I had to put him in boarding, and I told the boarding people, I walked in there with them, and I showed them how exactly you have to feed this dog. And what you do is you walk in there, you put the bowl down, and you get out. Get out. That's it. And while I was talking to her about that, you could see him starting to posture, right? So she's like, oh, I said, yeah. And see, the bowl is between you and the door, so you need to get out right now. Just get out of here, right? Stuff like that. I mean, can be so dangerous. And people who don't know how to read dogs or don't know about some of this behavior, can get, obviously, like him, get hurt pretty badly.
Yep. Yeah, we have a food aggressive dog here right now, and I'm the only one that's pretty much allowed to handle him.
Yeah,
should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I only know what I know by it wasn't by choice, but but just by experience over the years, ending up with some difficult dogs and learning, sometimes the hard way, but learning, all the precautions and all the things that you have to do. So none of it's easy, none of it's easy. When you get a dog that's great, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how good this dog is, right? Because you're so used to dealing with and kind of focusing your life and living around all the other difficulties that you have, making sure they're separated. I mean, I have like a little bit of PSD. I don't rescue pit bulls anymore because of
Same.
I've
only done 6.
I mean, my body's covered with scars and bites, I mean, and I had to live my life a certain way, and I felt kind of like a prisoner in it, because of how I had to keep these dogs. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore, right? So the last to go was the dog Remy I told you about that, his girlfriend took a liking to, and he's the last people. And I got to tell you, here's a perfect example. I ended up having to adopt that dog because the rescue that I was fostering for decided that a dog with, that had in its history a lot of anxiety and aggression, whatever, was going to be okay to send him to South Dakota to live on a fucking goat farm in a pen or locked up in a bedroom on the second floor, a dog with a lot of anxiety and stuff. I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind? I needed that dog like a hole in the head, right? And I wanted him to have a good life, but there's no way in hell after everything I'd done, a year and a half of rehabbing this dog and making him adoptable, was I going to let them schlep him off to South Dakota to live on a goat farm. So I had to last minute transport was set up. They were coming to get him, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't live with myself if I allowed this to happen. So I ended up adopting him just to stop the transport. Crazy,
Yeah. No, pit bull rescue life is very difficult. I mean, we have 3 rooms here, and we run larger crates at night, and they have play yards outside.
Yeah.
During the day, and it's very structured. It's certain dogs go out in certain order and all that. And, I mean, that's just the way it has to be safe.
Yes.
And then go ahead, Julie.
No, it's okay.
Oh, and then so after Steffen's arrested, and there's 66 dogs on the property. The rescues, most of the rescues came and got their dogs. There were some left over. Some of the Underdog Alliance dogs. Are you ready for this? So I don't know how you guys feel, but shock collars are a never for me. I don't.
No fucking way.
Don't call yourself an advocate and use shock collars on your dogs. So Saskia sent 10 of those dogs to Dogs Playing for Life in Florida, and For Life uses shock collars on their dogs to train them. There was a article written about that in Psychology Today. So here she is, this, no kill
dogs from Florida.
Right.
Wow.
Here she is, this big no kill, pro pit bull advocate, and then she ships 10 dogs off to a facility that uses shock collars to train their dogs. So I'm just like, well, come on now, And then so she's talking about, like I said, Marcia Maeda of LA County Animal Control, Madeline Bernstein, SPCA LA, calling out OC Animal Care, and saying how unethical and anti-ethical they are. And I'm like, wait a minute. You sent dogs to a place that employs shock collars as a method of behavioral training. Okay. You personally aligned yourself with and went into business and became rescue partner with someone you knew that had an open active animal cruelty investigation out in Ohio, and dogs were dead and missing. And you funded this misery out in Acton, and you helped him kill dogs. So how are you talking about anybody else being anti-ethical or unethical? I mean, who are you trying to kid? It's just like so convoluted.
Just want your opinion on this, both Sharon and Julie. How much?
Not a Karen, just saying.
How much do you think Saskia really knows what was going on? How much is she hiding to cover her own ass?
Well, here's the thing. So the third rescue partner that co-founded Underdog Alliance, Summer Parker, right? So Summer Parker, put out this big old statement after she left, stating that after being the third co-founder of Underdog Alliance, that I knew after a few months Steffen Baldwin wasn't who he said he was, and the dogs out there weren't getting the training. I came into this because our purpose was. And their purpose originally, Underdog Alliance purpose, was not to pull all these behavioral dogs and just warehouse them. Their purpose was supposedly to start play groups and programs at the shelters for the behavioral dogs. She's all there. The dogs weren't getting any training out at Steffen at the place out in Acton. They were sitting there. Steffen wasn't who he said he was. I learned that after a few months. I left Underdog Alliance, and when I left Underdog Alliance, I called every single rescue that had their dogs there, and I told them they needed to come there and check on the welfare of their dogs at Underdog Alliance. And that and she said I called Animal Control, and I told Animal Control they need to come out there and do a welfare check on Underdog Alliance. So when your third rescue partner, and she had been friends with Summer Parker before she brought Steffen Baldwin out to Ohio. Like I said, she was trying to groom Summer Parker as well. When the co-founder of Underdog Alliance is saying that a couple of months into the rescue, and then like a year being into the rescue, resigns from the rescue and walks away, I'm pretty sure she knew.
Yeah, I think she knew way more than we'll ever want to admit.
She had to keep up her smoke and mirror and her facade of doing amazing life-saving work. She has an ego. She has an ego so big. And just because she's a professional medical doctor, she has this medical license. She's got this attitude of, I'm infallible. You can't question my judgment.
Right.
Because
I'm smarter than you and everybody else. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's bullshit. There are medical doctors and lawyers whose judgments aren't good. And you can just she aligned herself with BFF Pet Rescue and a couple of other super low bottom feeder, lowest of the low rescues she could, in a sheer desperation to get out, pit bulls. So
she's unethical. She's unethical because of things she's done in her other
right. And then
life.
Afterwards, Summer Parker and I have gotten into it quite a bit when she was at Underdog Alliance as well. But when she left, I don't have a lot of respect for her, but at least she left and she told the truth of what happened when she left. And then she emailed a mutual friend, of hers and mine in Orange County, and said, look, I'm still sharing this, and she sent her an email, and I sent you the screenshot. She said, Saskia doesn't care where these dogs end up. She's all, it's a testament. Saskia doesn't care where these dogs end up. Saskia dumps these dogs, and she basically said Saskia needs to get out of rescue. She should just keep funding, and supporting rescues, but to do actual rescues, Saskia needs to get out of rescue. And that's from her co-founder and former partner. So what does that tell you?
Yeah. Yep. And, I always said, what, if you want to pull a dog from a shelter, regardless of the breed, and you can't find a foster and you have nowhere else for it to go, you damn well better be ready to take it home with you, right? That was my thing, take it home. That's it. And if you can't, then the dog has to stay, sadly, No amount of money is going to, make it better.
Exactly.
Guys, we're getting in a little over an hour here. I do want to talk about this more. Most definitely, we're going to set up another time to talk more as this case will progress. But Sharon, when is the? I don't know if you've actually started going to trial. When is the next court date? And how many of these? We'll just go with the animal cruelty charges. How many of these charges do you think are going to stick?
Hopefully every single one of those charges stick. They have I think they were all well written, well documented, well factual. So every single one of those charges should stick. There's a pre-trial in November, but the actual court date is December 6th. I think December 6th to the 17th. Yeah.
Keep us posted on that for sure. Because like I said, we don't get a lot of that information here, and I do appreciate your your efforts and you. I mean, you sent. It's like you're sending me something almost every week. There's always something going on. There's some
Last
communication.
summer. Last summer, yeah.
I mean, it's this. I mean, hopefully there's no plea bargains. I mean, I'm gonna guess that there's probably might be something. They might try and do something to reduce jail time or whatever. Okay, if you plead to this, and this, and this. But there's a lot of freaking charges here, and I just don't see how you can plea bargain that. Because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know a lot about law, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. But
So here's the thing, Patrick. I mean, Steffen Baldwin is a narcissistic sociopath. There's no doubt about it. And he elected a jury trial because he actually believes he can get before 12 people and tell a story so good that they're all going to find him not guilty. He truly believes that.
Are there cameras allowed in courtrooms?
I don't think so in this one.
That's really unfortunate because I would like to actually fly out there. The only reason to put my ass on another airplane. Joe knows how I feel about flying.
Yeah.
But I would like to find a way to get out there and sit in on this trial and actually do a show after that.
I would too.
So
I'll be
let's figure it out.
I'll be there for all the days of the trial. So
you can document it.
I'll try to videotape and photograph, but I don't know if they're going to let me.
Yeah.
You can do. I'd like to do something outside the courtroom, and I would actually. I'm just curious if any of these lawyers would want to come on this show and talk about this. And I'm really curious just about their defense on all this and how they're going to do it.
I have the lawyer's information. I'll email you all their information and you can reach out to them and ask them. That would be good.
I'd like to get them on. I'd even like to. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get Steffen on, but Steffen.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to really hear it come out of his mouth as far as how he thinks that he can defend himself against all this stuff, and just,
Right. And, like I said, all the charges are in Ohio, right? All the charges right now, the 53, they're all out of Ohio. Nothing's been charged in LA yet, but we're working on that. I and some other advocates, we've emailed the California Attorney General. We've emailed the California or the district attorney in LA, animal control, and we are asking that Saskia and Steffen be charged for, the crimes that happened out in Acton. So hopefully something comes out of that as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that if there was anything rolling in California.
It's slow and moving, and we've received responses, but we're hoping it goes forward. Yes.
And you're looking to get Saskia involved in on this too. I would guess was the accomplice.
It's her rescue. I mean, it's
she should be held accountable, and I don't see. I mean, I don't see how she could not know unless she just doesn't show up at that.
Yeah, no, she knew. And then we've also, I and some other animal advocates, we have we've made a report to the California Medical Board. There's an open active investigation with the California Medical Board against both her and her husband at this time. We've asked the medical board to look at her competency and her ethics, and her husband, I can't really say right now, but we've asked them to look into it too, based on statements she's made to me over the phone.
But considering Saskia was trying to hide all this from her husband, I'm pretty sure he knows to cut it now.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's not the kind of shit that I hide from my wife.
Yeah.
If I'm doing something with I'm spending. this much money on something,
unethical. Yeah.
she's gonna know about it.
Yeah.
I
And,
mean,
she made a post, and she was posting on a post that, my husband is banned from my Facebook page because I don't want to see it. I don't want him to see everything I'm doing in rescue and my rescue shenanigans. So he's banned from all my social media pages. And I'm just
But he's a professional too. Right?
I mean, sometimes I get, honey, I'm bringing home another dog, but we ain't got room. But she always knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she knew, and the bottom line is, she is the leader of this organization. She is the apex of this organization. She is the founder of this organization. It is her responsibility. Everything that happened in that organization is her responsibility.
If she turns a blind eye to it or not, yes.
She's failed so many times.
Too.
I mean,
Yeah. Sharon, send me her contact info as well. Sharon, Saskia's contact. I'd like to call her and find out what she's got to say.
She can't talk to you because it's complicated, because she is a witness in Steffen Baldwin's trial. So anything she says publicly is going to be used against her in Steffen Baldwin's trial by his attorneys, right? So.
Well, that's not my problem.
Well, okay, but okay, sure.
Hey guys, I have to go.
Yeah. Hey guys, Julie, Sharon, thank you both so much for coming on here talking about this. It just I want to get more, follow this case, and I'm going to be a little more proactive, Sharon, about posting some of this stuff that you send me, the documents, the legal stuff, on our PBA page. I want to get more people in the loop on this, because this is I think, as far as anybody in advocacy and rescue, this is a really important case to know about, because it's going to affect, the outcome is going to affect all of us in one way or another, and hopefully it's not going to be adverse effect to the rest.
Hopefully he's going to be held accountable for his actions. I mean, that's the bottom line. And by proxy, Saskia, that's the thing, accountability.
Yeah.
That's the whole crux of it. When people stop supporting, defending people like this,
Exactly.
because they still are. People still are, but you can't deny the facts. So.
Yeah, and then the big shout out to Litsa in Ohio. She was, when she first posted Remy's story, like, Steffen's rapid supporters came out at her and they mocked her and they bullied her unrelentingly, and they made fun of her. And I mean, she stood strong, and she's all, this is the truth, and I'm going to continue to say the truth. So a big thank you to Litsa in Ohio, and then Officer Jim Conroy with the Campbell Police Department. He literally spent 4 years and 15,000 man hours on this case. So, if it wasn't for those two, Steffen would still be doing what he was doing, out here in California. So because of those two, Steffen was stopped, and then the whole Save Them Dog Training, Steffen Baldwin Underdog Alliance House of Cards collapsed, and they imploded. So, and it's all.
And not too many people like us are willing to speak out. That's, if there was more people willing to speak out, it would certainly help.
Yeah.
I have nothing to lose by doing it. I have my experience. It's just what I know. But there should be more people, to stop.
Exactly. We're supposed to be the voice of the animals, not protect the abusers.
Right.
We're protecting the abusers over the animals.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's why we have this. That's why we have this platform for you guys. For both of you and anybody that wants to. If either of you want to come back and just say, "Hey, I want to do a show," you let me know. We're going to do a show.
If you need any more input down the road, as long as I'm able, I'm happy to do it, to help.
Yeah.
I've already, kind of provided my stuff, my experience, and all my facts to the people that needed to know. So I'm now talking about it,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I was able to, I and some other animal advocates, at the end, Steffen, or Underdog Alliance kennel license was revoked by LA County. So, and it shows that animal advocacy works, just.
It does.
It works.
It does. We have a little saying here, or at least I do, is that, a lot of us, we might not be on the same page least we're in the same book.
Yeah.
And and it sounds like like here, I think we're all on the same page. Let's let's hope for a conviction on this, on all charges. More importantly, the animal cruelty charges, because anybody. I mean, you get away with killing dogs. What are you going to do to an individual, a human being, after that? It's just
yeah. The most important part is that he held accountable for the dogs he killed and then fundraised after, and all of the lies and all that stuff. To me, is the most important aspect of it. There's plenty of other charges too that aren't related to those dogs. He had like 42 counts when they arrested him, right, Sharon? 42 counts. So
that's 42 animal cruelty.
No, not all.
Or is that everything? Just total fraud?
There's a lot more. Yeah.
There's 53 counts total. 53 counts total. 11 are animal cruelty. They were misdemeanors, but they were upgraded to felonies. And the other 42 are the.
We were trying to get those 11 counts dropped. And there was some worry, right, Sharon, about the judge.
Yeah.
But in the end, they stuck. So I was real happy to hear that.
Okay, and then all I want to say is in conclusion, and then we can sign off or whatever you guys need to say. I just want to say, beware of wolves in sheep clothing. Rescue is hard. Rescue is challenging. We all want to see the pit bulls saved, but there are fates worse than death. Than euthanasia at the shelter. I mean, just look at Underdog Alliance, look at John Tower, Top, Olympic Animal Sanctuary. All of those should teach you, that there are fates worse than death. And I'm saddened that, Steffen Baldwin was such an elevated pit bull advocate, high profile, and this is how he chose to conduct his animal advocacy. It's just bad. And what he did, he did deal a severe blow to pit bull animal advocacy, and he will leave a black mark, on pit bull animal advocacy forever.
It's hard to trust, but people need to have their eyes open, and I would rather start out mistrustful and be proven wrong than blindly believe in things like this, because there's a pattern. This has happened over and over. He's not the only one.
Yeah.
So,
and just because you self-identify as an animal advocate or trainer does not make you one. That's for sure.
Right.
No references. Check your references, backgrounds.
Somebody won't let you come on the property where they're going to house their dogs. That's the problem.
That's a red flag. Huge red flag.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Sharon, Julie, for everything that you're doing out there. Keep it up. Never give in. Never give up. And we'll be talking soon, y'all.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.